call this meeting back to order, and we are on item 7.
Item number 7 is the proclamation honoring the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Carrie Geithner, Chair, Board of County Commissioners.
I'd like to move this proclamation honoring the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Whereas Charlie Kirk, a devout husband, father, and friend to many, was shaped by his faith and the idea that in America, debate and discussion are crucial to the betterment of our country. And whereas recognized as one of the leading voices among youth leaders in the United States, Charlie created opportunities for civic education, fostering youth leadership and promoting principles of liberty and democracy across the United States. And whereas Charlie was the founder and executive director of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization consisting of thousands of chapters across the United States, including 62 high school chapters and 23 college chapters and counting in Colorado, equipping the young generation with the tools and knowledge to defend and promote American values. And whereas Charlie's life work to promote American principles of individual liberty, limited government, and rule of law, and to bring these ideals to life on college campuses across the nation and around the world, cost him his life by means of an assassin's bullet on September 10th, 2025. And whereas, despite the horrific act of violence that took his life, his work continues through his wife, Erica Kirk, the thousands of young people who joined his movement in the wake of his untimely death, and millions of individuals whose lives were changed by his message. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, hereby proclaims October 14th, 2025, the day he would have turned 32 years old, as a day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk in El Paso County, and encourage educational institutions, governmental entities, and citizens across the county to honor Charlie's legacy by emphatically denouncing political violence, recommitting to the principles that our founding fathers proclaimed, and by doing our part to shape a more free and prosperous future for our local community and nation. Done this 14th day of October 2025 at Colorado Springs, Colorado. Signed the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County, Colorado, Carrie Geithner, Chair, Holly Williams, Vice Chair, Corey Applegate, Member, Lauren Nelson, Member, and Bill Wysong, Member, and attested to by Steve Schleicher, the County Clerk and Recorder.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded, and we do have some guests this morning, so I would invite Lena Branch and Stefan Hoffman to come on down. We would love to hear from you at this time.
Good morning. My name is Lena Branch, and I am the Rockies Field representative for our high school program of Turning Point USA. Thank you to the Board of County Commissioners of El Paso County for honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk. I found Turning Point USA when I was 17 years old, here in my home state of Colorado. My thoughts, opinions, and values were loud and roaring in my head, but refrained from coming out of my mouth. My first Turning Point USA conference in downtown Denver was the first time that I ever heard Charlie. I never knew the impact that Turning Point USA would have on my life, but God did. Turning Point USA afforded me immense opportunities that my 17-year-old self could have never imagined, all leading to the most significant one of them all, being an employee for Turning Point USA and making a difference in my home state. Charlie and Turning Point USA invested in Generation Z, believing that we too could achieve the American dream. He taught us to invest in what matters, in what is everlasting, and what is truthful, because that is what we should build our life on. Now in my role with Turning Point USA, we have started 62 high school chapters, 7 of them being in El Paso County. These students are eager to demand more of their country, demand more of their peers, demand more of the battles that they have been facing. They dream of a country where those with differing opinions and values can coexist and express the First Amendment freely without persecution. Thank you for your work to preserve Charlie Kirk's legacy and honor him today on his 32nd birthday.
Thank you so much. Please come forward.
Thank you, board. Thank you for taking time out of your day and your busy schedule for this. My name is Stefan Hoffman, and I am the president of the Turning Point USA chapter over at UCCS. I want to thank you for this opportunity to come and speak with you all about what Charlie Kirk means to me and what he means to my chapter and everyone that knew him across the nation and across the world. I found Turning Point at my first semester in college, and since then, Charlie Kirk and this organization has had such an impact on my life and an impact on the life of millions of people. I had the great opportunity to meet Charlie Kirk on many occasions and got to see him speak half a dozen times. He was a great man who loved his country and loved this organization. And love him or hate him, he was a man to be admired and recognized. He championed civil political debate and civic education. He loved liberty, freedom, and the Constitution, as should we all. September 10th was a hard day. It was a tragic day and one of the hardest days of my life, and it will live on in infamy. No one should be killed for their political opinions. He meant a lot to me and to my chapter. I would not be where I am today without him. I met my best friends, met my community, and he inspired me to be a better man. He inspired everyone in my chapter to become involved and become better citizens. His death is truly the turning point of America and the world. He inspired millions to change America for the better, and he inspired me to fight for truth and fight for what I know to be right, here in my town and in my state. He created Turning Point USA at the age of 18 from scratch, and it is now the largest conservative youth movement in the country. Our chapter has grown exponentially itself since his passing, and his legacy lives on in each of us. He won't be forgotten, especially in our chapter. I want to thank you, the board, for what you are doing today with this proclamation. We support this proclamation over at UCCS. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing those words. With that, I'd like to bring it up to commissioners for comments. Commissioner Weisong.
Madam Chair, thank you. Stefan, you talked about civil debate in education. I think that is one of the most critical elements, that it can be civil debate. Instead of fighting, arguing, that you have discussions. If you go back to the founding fathers, do you think that was, you know, an interesting time? There was a lot of debate. There was a lot of discussion. And I think that that is what is important, that we have that civil debate and we learn what really is in the Constitution, what makes this country as great as it is, and have the ability to do, excuse me, what we've been able to do around the world. So with that, thank you for coming.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes, I was very excited to do this proclamation. I know that after Charlie Kirk's death, there were many requests for various different things, and this seemed to be an easy way to honor him. I didn't know Charlie Kirk very well until his assassination, but as I think about it, of how many people in America's history who are not elected politicians or presidents have been assassinated for speaking freely. Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk. I know that there's Lincoln was assassinated and John F. Kennedy was assassinated, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated, but this was truly a shock because this is a man who would stand on a campus full of college kids and do what we want our teachers in college classrooms to do every single day. Challenge challenge the youth's minds. You know, once you get to even as 6th grade or 7th grade, you want to challenge that ability to critically think. And he would stand up there and challenge the person who was asking the question to look at it a different viewpoint. And that's what I was so amazingly impressed by. We have a whole new generation of youth coming up involved in politics and freedom of speech and freedom of thought who have learned through Turning Point USA to challenge the status quo or to challenge what someone is saying and to challenge it fairly in a debate. Not to shout people down and not to write nasty letters to the editor or do any political violence, but to sit down and have a reasonable and a rational discussion about freedom of speech. And so I pulled out a quote by Benjamin Franklin. We've been watching 1776. It's an older musical at home. And he said, "Without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech." Just one of our most important values that led to the founding of our nation was the freedom of speech and the freedom of thought, the willingness to disagree with the king in England and with the English government to say, no, we have different rights, and we have rights that you are not paying attention to over here across the sea. And that's what I've been so impressed with Charlie Kirk about. It's unfortunate what happened to him, and I know that he would much rather, his wife 20 years from now would much rather have had a father to see her kids be raised. But the legacy he has given the youth of today will live on for many, many years to come, and I think we as a nation will be better for it. Thank you.
Commissioner Applegate.
In an age with a lot of disunity and just a lot of like infighting, whether it's among political parties or political beliefs or anything, or social matters for that matter, Charlie Kirk stood on those college campuses with a chair, table, and a microphone. Said, "Let's discuss. You have beliefs, I have beliefs. Let's sit down and talk about it." It was rare. It's just something you don't see in society too much anymore. And it's like there's so much infighting. It's so much easier to just have a debate and then get nasty and get violent. Heart goes out to his wife and his kids. Charlie, you will be missed.
Commissioner Nelson.
Of all of the proclamations that we read as a commission board, this one to me is the epitome of why we're here at the dais as elected officials and public servants, that we are leading our community, and it's based on the principles that Charlie Kirk helped to educate our youth on, and just the concepts of civil discourse and respectful debate. They're foundational to the principles of freedom that our country was built upon. And so it's really important that we take some time to remember why we are here serving and to honor his example. And I am grateful for the country that we live in, that we can have differing beliefs and views, and that at the end of the day, we might have to agree to disagree, but at least through this example of civil discourse, we can reach mutual understanding of why you might think the way you do and why I think the way I do. And so thank you to the commissioners that brought this forward, Chair Geithner and Commissioner Williams, or was it Applegate was the co? Who was the co on this one? Thank you, sorry. Thank you for bringing this forward for us to just take some time in our meeting amidst all of the work that we do to reflect on why we're serving, because we have to continue to maintain protecting individual rights and respecting private property, and those rights of free speech are so important. And so I'm glad that we were able to take this time today. Thanks.
Okay, and I'll just kind of wrap this up here. I think I'm just so grateful that both of you came and shared your experience with Charlie. And I have 2 teenage boys, and so it was really impactful to me to sit and have a conversation with them about what happened when Charlie was killed, and to watch them realize and see their own frustration about what was happening in our country was just a huge reminder to me that this will be an impact on the youth in our country for the rest of their lives. This is such a truly a turning point. I don't know. I think it's providential that Charlie named his organization the Turning Point, because I don't think any of us could have seen this coming, but it certainly will be for the youth of our nation. My colleagues have said it all very well, how important freedom of speech is, how important it is that we continue to have the discussions, to have civil discourse. But I think it's also important to remember that Charlie was responding to changes in our nation. He was responding to what was happening on college campuses. He was responding to what has been a constriction on freedom of speech. So not only did he stand for freedom of speech, but he was doing it in a time where it was truly pushing back. Again, I have 2 teenage boys. I worry about where they will spend their time in the future. I worry about whether they will be able to express their beliefs. Will they be outcast? Because they are white males who are Christians. And we have started to see institutions who just do not, want to lump everyone into categories based on all kinds of things that are unfair and quite frankly, many things that are a reflection of how this nation was founded. And we've seen so much animosity towards those things. So I'm really grateful for the work that was done. But I do want to read something that really struck me that I first saw on the day that Charlie was assassinated. This is assassination culture is spreading. 48% is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same about Donald Trump. In California, activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing protest culture, tolerating violence and mayhem for years on end. The cowardice of local prosecutors and school officials have turned the left into a ticking time bomb. That's from Charlie himself. He posted that before he was assassinated. He was responding to something that was already building in our nation, and we have to name it. We cannot be afraid to name it. I will not stand by. I've watched too many people try to justify. I've watched too many people try to minimize what is happening in our nation. It is terrible. Those statistics are so staggering. I don't care how you feel about Donald Trump personally. I don't care how you feel about Elon Musk personally. The things that we saw, the firebombing of Tesla dealerships, all of those things that we've seen, we have not condemned strongly enough. And I'll condemn it on the left and the right. It doesn't matter which side it comes from. But we are seeing an increase, in particular, of intolerance toward our founding American traditional values. And that's what Charlie was standing up against. It's what he knew we had to do to save our nation. So I really am grateful to my colleagues. I think Charlie's memory will live on. I think it's also important to remember, I think a lot of folks did not know that Charlie Kirk actually served on the Air Force Academy Visitors Board and had a very direct connection to our community here. And so proud to stand and say we need to continue to live out the legacy that Charlie Kirk had. And I really pray for this nation that we will all be able to say and condemn any violence, that there will not be continued that there will not be continued callousness towards fellow Americans, regardless of what their beliefs are. And so with that, I think we are ready for a vote here. Commissioner Wysong,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Applegate,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We'll take a brief recess for a photograph. Call this meeting back to order, and we are on item 8.
Item number 8 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports.
Okay, I don't see any countywide elected officials in the room, and I see none online, so we'll begin with Commissioner Wysong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Continuing on the same theme, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the hardship that a lot of our military and other individuals that are working without any kind of a paycheck. And having the civil discourse and talking about a budget, the truth has to be told. The CR could have been passed on a simple 51 vote margin, but the Democrats chose to filibuster, which required 60 votes. So that's the first item. The clean CR that they offered up has nothing in it other than extending the budget cycle out for enough time to go through the appropriate process where you appropriate the funds for the 12 different bills that would be put forward, where this discussion could have taken place and at some point will probably take place. 3 of those appropriation bills are basically in process and are basically in committee. The other 9 are basically stalled because there's no Congress in session. So I just want to make sure that people understand that we need to get the government open back up. And most importantly, that they need to go ahead and get the 60 votes, because that was an issue and a requirement that really didn't need to happen because it was a clean CR. So there's a lot of posturing and manipulating of facts. But at the same time, I want everyone else, do your own research. truly understand what is going on. So with that, I just want to talk about last week. Had a pretty full week, PPACG, Parks Board, the Habitat for Humanities had an open house. We went to the Drug Addiction Court, which was something that was very interesting, where the 4th Judicial District, for those nonviolent offenders that were arrested for drug use, have the ability to have a second chance. And it was very interesting to listen to what their process was that they went through. This week, Drainage Board, both city and county process, North Slope recreational area meeting, water quality meeting. So it's going to be another pretty busy week. But this is what we do. So thank you.
Commissioner Nelson.
Last week, we took a first look at the budget for 2026. And so if you're interested in and weren't able to watch that meeting, you can go back and watch the recording. And I just want to point out all of the work that was done to include really detailed information on our revenues and expenditures on the website so that community members can go in and really understand how El Paso County is spending our taxpayer dollars. And I'm grateful to the team that put in all of that effort to help make our funding more transparent. And so shout out to that team. I will probably say this again and again because I think that's really valuable work that they did. And then tomorrow I have a community corrections board meeting, and I just want to put it out there that we are looking for people to participate on that board. So if that's an area that you feel led to serve, it is hard work, but it is so very important. You will be reviewing applications of around 25 individuals to determine whether it is safe to allow them to come out and serve the remainder of their time in prison instead in the community and ComCore. And so we are looking for individuals to serve on this board. So I'm going to put a little plug for that. You can go on the website and submit an application. And then we also are searching for individuals to serve on the Pikes Peak Library Board of Trustees. So if that is something that interests you to help make sure we're stewarding those taxpayer dollars well as in addition, and just overseeing the direction of how our community is served through our libraries. So put in a plug for that as well. We need people to volunteer. I know it's a big ask, but it is such important work in both those areas. Thanks.
Commissioner Applegate.
Thank you. Last Tuesday, after our commissioner meeting in the evening, I was with Commissioner Williams, and we attended a Day of Remembrance event for the attacks on October 7th when Palestine attacked Israel, and just prayed for release of the hostages, just peace in that whole situation. And now, ironically enough, here I'm looking at the news and I'm seeing that a peace deal is being struck right now and that those hostages are coming home. So it was a very good event. It was good to see Congressman Crank there, as well as Minority Leader Caldwell and Representative Kelty. On Wednesday, I was with Commissioner Weissong, and we toured the Habitat for Humanity, their new office. They opened a new office off of Sinton Road. And Thursday as well, I got to see the presentation of the recovery court for the graduation. So nonviolent drug offenders, instead of prison time, instead of like automatic felonies, it's, hey, go do this rehab program, but this is your last chance. But it was encouraging to see that and to see all those people in the room and realize, you know, these are your friends, these are your neighbors, they're recovering. And they did it without having to like do hard time in jail. And they were able to get sober. They were able to clean their lives up. And now they're on the right path. And so really rather awesome.
Vice Chair Williams.
Good morning. It's great to be here. I did want to mention, yes, last Tuesday night we were in Acacia Park at an evening ceremony praying, and hoping for the return of the hostages in Israel after the brutal attack 2 years ago on October 7th. Pleasantly surprised that that happened shortly after that. I think that was due to great efforts by President Trump, and just very proud that we were able to accomplish that as a nation, for the nation of Israel. During last week, we did have the sheriff's office opened their most technologically advanced communication center for the 911 system in the state. I was not able to attend that opening, but I'm very proud of what he's done, what he does on his budget, and the amount of work he does just based on the small amount of taxpayer resources, relatively speaking, that he gets compared to some of the other sheriffs in the state. This week, I am really excited to attend the Black Forest Fire Department Fire Chief swearing in of Chief David Rocco tomorrow evening. It's been about a year since they've had a fire chief, and they've done many creative things during that time to make sure that their station was led, but I know this has been an intense process for their board, and I'm glad that they will have someone at the helm there. Very important to protect our Black Forest Fire District. And those are the events I have that are the highlights of my week. Thank you.
I want to start by thanking those who came out last evening to kick off our Citizen College here at Centennial Hall. And also, I think I heard we had the largest group that we've ever had for Citizen College, which was really fantastic to see this room full of folks who really wanted to learn more about what we do here in El Paso County. Huge shout out to all of the staff that was here late last night as well and back early here this morning to continue serving. Really appreciate all the work that has gone into creating a program to help people understand. Last night we talked about the budget and got to have a fun exercise where those who were participating had requests from different areas around the county and only so much money, and they had to make a decision about where that money was going to go. So they learned about unfunded mandates from the state and how there's often hard decisions that have to be made, and there can be consequences for the different decisions that are made. So we do our very best to make good choices here and protect the county and make sure we're serving citizens well. So it was a great evening. Also, our planning staff, that was the second topic that was covered. And so our planning staff did a great job of helping the community to understand how that process works. It's often very complicated for folks to understand that process. And also they usually, as someone said, people don't tend to ask questions until there's already something wrong. And so it's great that we had so many people very proactively coming out to learn about the county and making sure that they understand how things operate before they're in a situation where they are calling because they feel like something is wrong. I want to point out that I have a couple of meetings this week, one being the library board, the other being the Fair Advisory Board out in Callahan. Those do conflict, so as with every month, I'm either on the phone on one and driving to the other or vice versa to try to make it to both of those meetings, but both just as the liaison, so I'm not a voting member, I'm not missing any votes or anything like that, but try to keep up with what is going on both of those. And then other than that, Citizens Outreach Group does meet on Monday next week. And so that is all I have. I just really want to say thank you to my colleagues for all the comments about hostages, and everyone is so excited about peace in the Middle East. And so thank you for all of your comments on that. And I just echo those sentiments of how hopeful I am about peace. Okay. With that, we are on to item 9.
Item number 9 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item 10.
Item number 10 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. And Madam Chair, I'm unaware of anyone signing in ahead of time to speak today.
Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? I see no one in the room and no one online. Item 11.
Item number 11 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
Item 12.
Item number 12 is the request for approval of the 2026 Regional Building Department budget. Roger Lovell, Building Official, Regional Building Department, and Nikki Simmons, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Roger Lovell, Pikes Peak Regional Building. Do we have the PowerPoint available? Okay, I guess good morning, Roger Lovell. I'm the Regional Building Official for Pikes Peak Regional Building. Thank you to the Commission, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair for having us here today. I'm here to present the department's budget for fiscal year 2026. And as your building official, I'm proud to share this budget with you as the building department works very closely with El Paso County, and we value the relationship with the county. Each year, we work very hard to develop a budget based on projections, specific economic factors, and local conditions. As a reminder, the department is self-funded through plan review, permit, and licensing fees, and this budget has no direct impact on El Paso County. With regard to the budget approval process, we did present the budget as a work session before the advisory board on August 20th, before the building commission on August 28th as a work session, and we did receive a recommendation for approval from the advisory board on September 11th, and followed by a approval by the building commission on September 25th for this budget. So this is the final step to bring this budget before El Paso County and the city of Colorado Springs. I'll just get into, maybe a little teaser first. Okay, how do I advance?
Yeah, you may have to try the mouse.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. First, one apology. This says 2024 overview and accomplishments. It should say 2025 overview and accomplishments. Just a little teaser, sharing some statistics ahead of time because we really do anticipate 2026 to look a lot like 2025 has from a workload for the department, an overall perspective to include revenue and expenditures. So as of July 31st, 2025, we issued permits for 1,814 new single-family homes, which is a decrease of 5% over the same time period in 2024. The average single-family valuation decreased 4% from 2024 to approximately $535,000. 947 new single-family or new multifamily units, which is an increase of 69% over the same time period in 2024, but a decrease of 51% over 2023. So we've seen some really rapid fluctuations in multifamily, historical highs of multifamily construction in 2021 and 2022. So it looks like we're getting a little bit closer to probably the 2018, 2019 levels, a little bit of stabilization in the multifamily arena. Approximately $2.1 billion in total construction valuation as of July 31st. That's a decrease of 4.8% over 2024 and flat when compared to the same time period in 2023. Approximately 7,000 plans submitted for review as of July 31st, decrease of about 7.5% over 2024. And as of July 31st, 180,000 inspections performed, which is a decrease of about 10% over 2024. One thing to note with regard to inspections, the inspection numbers can be highly influenced by hailstorms, and we did not have, while we have had some hailstorms in 2025, we didn't have any significant hail events in 2025, and it's not looking like we will so far. Accomplishments for 2025, I think one of the ones that I'm most proud of is as of July 31st, 2025, our revenue was 7% below our budget projections, but we're able to keep our expenses 9% our budget. So that's a reflection of prudent fiscal management and responsible allocation of resources. We closely watch our revenue and on our expenses. I could say on a monthly basis, but we actually do it a lot closer than that. We work very hard to make sure that we're utilizing resources appropriately. When a position is vacated, we closely analyze, does that position need to be filled? Can we hold a little bit? What do we need to do? So we work very hard to keep expenses down. And as of July 31st, we did have a small but a positive cash flow. And I mention that because the 2025 budget did anticipate a draw, or does anticipate a draw from the fund balance of up to $715,000. As we're at a positive halfway through the year, it's unlikely that we will have a draw from the fund balance. And if we do, very highly unlikely that we'll reach that full $715,000. We also worked very hard starting in 2023. I'm sure each of you are aware of the requirements from the state of Colorado and the federal government with regard to digital accessibility. Beginning in 2023 and throughout 2025, we worked very hard to maintain and upgrade our website to meet the WCAG 2.1 level AA standards. Recently in 2025, we completed the back side of the website, which is the subscription-based side of the website. That's now meets all digital accessibility requirements. And it's not just a big piece on behalf of the IT department. It takes a lot of education with staff to make sure that all of the documents that they're sending out, that they're all digitally accessible. Moving into 2025, we'll maintain a lot of the strategic goals that we have in prior budgets. The department's single largest asset and single largest expense is its staff. We're a service organization, and so the more we focus on our employees and their commitment to excellence, the more we can provide exceptional service. One of the ways that we do that is an emphasis on staff retention. While we don't have a staff retention problem, we have a very low turnover rate. It can be very costly when you have staff turnover with training of new inspectors, training of new plan reviewers. That can take up to a year. And every other year, we conduct a salary study, and then the alternating year, we do a market adjustment. So the last salary study we completed was in 2024, so we'll do another salary study in 2026. The salary or the market adjustment for 2025 indicates that in order to remain competitive, we need to include a cost of living increase in the 2026 budget. This budget does include a cost of living increase of up to 5%. That is up to 5%. It will not exceed 5%. And the final cost of living increase will be determined by administrative staff later in the calendar year. Additionally, this budget also does anticipate a cost of benefits increase of up to 28%. I'm very hopeful. We're still in negotiations regarding the cost of benefits. I'm very hopeful that we can bring that number down significantly. I'm very confident that we can get to 11 or 12% and potentially with a single digit increase. So in that nature, this budget is very conservative when you have a 28% increase in the cost of benefits and your biggest expense is staff. Additionally, this budget also accommodates for a 1% increase in the employer required contribution to PARA, or the Public Employees Retirement Association for Colorado. That goes into effect July 1st of 2026. Further, online services, the website continues to be an incredibly important piece of what we do on a daily basis. Approximately 97% of all our inspection requests come through our website. So when you think about it, we've had 180,000 inspections occur so far, or as of July 31st of this year, 97% of those inspections are done online. So that's hundreds of thousands of phone calls that our front counter staff does not have to answer that can occur throughout any time of the day. Approximately 80% of our plans submitted to the department are issued electronically via the website. So that saves a lot of time and efficiency as well. So we will continue to develop and enhance the website moving forward. Here's just a quick look at the 20-year inspection and permit trend. And this is very broad. It's just an overview of inspections and permits. You can see that we started to kind of a low down in 2009, and then a high, at least related to inspections in 2021, and then the dip that we've seen in the last couple of years. We do anticipate that we'll issue approximately 300, or that we'll have approximately 360,000 inspections this year, with the potential for up to 80,000 permits issued. Those numbers are very difficult to predict because they are very, very volatile. Just a couple of highlights for the 2026 budget. This budget does not propose any fee increases, although we are not immune to the increased costs of inflation, goods and services, and whatnot. We haven't increased fees in 20 years. At some point, there will come a time where we have to consider an increase in fees. But I am very proud of the fact that we haven't increased fees in 20 years, and I think that speaks widely to the commitment on the part of the county, the city, and regional building to help make El Paso County a business-friendly environment, and an environment where we can do everything we can to at least do our best to help with affordability for homes. The 2026 budget does anticipate $22,749,556 in revenue, which is a 3% increase over the 2026 budget and a 6.8% increase over the 2024 budget. This budget does not propose any additional positions. It maintains 137 full-time positions. Currently, we're staffed at about 126 positions. Again, we do watch very closely the staffing levels to keep our expenses as low as possible. This budget also continues the Licensing and Rewards Program for a 10th year. The Licensing and Rewards Program, for those of you who may not be aware, applies to contractors with the department that are in good standing. Good standing means they've been licensed with the department for at least 3 years, and at the time of their renewal of their licenses are renewed annually. At the time of renewal, if they don't have any administratively closed permits or permits that haven't had any activity for 6 months, then they can renew their license for no fee. Now, the benefit to the department is when it comes time to renew a license that does have administratively closed permits, our staff has to get pretty involved with it, help them get the permits cleaned up, get things moving, and it requires work on our part. So if we can incentivize contractors to do that on their own, it saves us a good bit of time. So the Licensing and Rewards Program results in approximately $300,000 annually that gets turned right back to the local contractors here that are licensed or registered with the department. The budget anticipates $22,749,556 in expenses, which again is the same 3% increase over 2024 and 6.8% over, 3% increase over the 2025 budget and a 6.8% increase over the 2024 budget. Similar to the 2025 budget, this budget does anticipate a potential draw from the fund balance of $1,363,584. Now, that is due in large part to the budgeted 28% cost increase in benefits. And again, we're very hopeful that we can significantly reduce that number. It's also highly unlikely. That's kind of the worst case scenario that we get in that standpoint. But there's a couple of benefits to it. bringing the cash as a percent of budget down helps to offset any potential fee increases and kind of gives us a softer ramp to any needed fee increases if they're necessary. And beyond that, there are potential remedies. The Building Commission has the authority to adjust modifiers throughout the year to offset any losses. We have not needed to do that in 20 years. So that's something that could be considered. But I think that drawing down the fund balance, if necessary, will help to offset any potential fee increases. In closing, this budget provides for a sustainable operational building department with no reduction in services. If anything, an increase in service levels. We will maintain same-day inspections, the lowest fees in the state of Colorado, and some of the quickest plan review turnaround times within the state of Colorado. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I should have introduced her before, but I do have our new Director of Finance, Lauren Burris, with us here today in hopes that we can answer any questions you may have.
Commissioner Applegate.
So the wage increases, you said you do 2 year studies and make sure your amount's kind of matching what the market's doing. What are you seeing roughly on those increases? Is it single digits, or are they making big jumps here in the last few years?
The information that we have is still kind of preliminary. We're about a month ahead in our budget presentations this year because I don't like waiting to the last minute. I like to get this ahead of the game as much as possible. So some of the initial numbers that we're seeing are right around that 5% range.
Okay. And that's about normal. You're not seeing huge increases.
Not seeing huge increases. Okay. I do like to wait until later in the year when we can get a little bit more solid data. Okay. Some of it also comes from the hiring process too. And when we're hiring for a new position and we can't attract people, or the answer is, I'd love to, but I need more money for that. Some of it is literally seat of the pants discussions.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Commissioner Williams.
I've been here 7 years, and I'll repeat the same story I tell every year. So thank you so much for what you do to speed up the construction process in our community, the permitting process, getting things fixed and inspected. My mother-in-law built a house in Vegas. Sometimes it was 3 or 4 months, and you had to go and sit in the office all day and demand to be seen to get something approved. And so this process we have here in El Paso County is so beneficial, where we're working together as a community to make sure that the contracting and the building and the fixing and the required inspections on furnaces and those kind of installations are occurring in a timely fashion and continually being done timely without having to wait or without having to go sit in a government office and take a day off and demand to be seen. And so in my mind, it's just the house is finally built. My husband's mother has moved into it, and the grass is growing and the sprinkler system's working, and she's thankful, but I think it may have taken a few years off of her life, and she'll probably live to be 102. So maybe she'll only live to be 100 now, but it's something that she never wants to go through again because it was just a lot of work to get it done. And so we appreciate everything you do to continually speed up things in this economy and make sure that our workers can work and get their job done every day as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. If I could just comment on that real quick. The construction process is not getting any simpler. There's a lot of regulation that comes down from the state of Colorado. There's new codes. One of the trickiest parts is regulation that comes from the state. And we work very hard to adapt to that to the extent possible. But it also requires a lot of collaboration with El Paso County, with the city of Colorado Springs, with all of the different entities involved in the permitting process. And it's kind of like a chain. Regional building is part of the chain, but if another department is the slowest or the weakest link in the chain, then the whole process kind of breaks down. So it does require a lot of collaboration across lines. But thank you.
Commissioner Nelson.
I have a couple of questions. I think I missed it. Can you go back and explain? You said something was changing in July with para?
Yes, para, are you familiar with
I
para?
am,
Okay. The required employer contribution for para is increasing by 1%
Okay.
July 1st of 2026.
So what is it now? What will it be? Or I can do the math, but
Of that information?
It's new.
You're right.
that's okay.
I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe it goes from 13.5% to
Okay.
14.5%.
Okay.
I'm working off a memory, Commissioner,
Okay.
so
That's all
I'd
right.
be happy to track down that
I'm
information.
familiar with it in education world, and it was something like 26 or 28% match that the school districts have to contribute, and so that's sizable. So I was just curious what it is for you all. When it comes to the increase in medical benefits, are you anticipating that if it hits that 28%, you might end up dipping into fund balance? Is it that you suspect next year it won't continue? Because that would be an ongoing expense that you're using one-time money for. So if you could speak to the strategy there.
Throughout the negotiation process, we looked at all possible and viable options to include self-funded and partially self-funded plans. 2 years ago, we moved from Kaiser to United, as Kaiser had proposed a significant fee increase. Prior to that, there were several years where we were actually successful in negotiating a zero or a negative increase in benefits. When we moved to United, there was a small increase. One of the methods that we utilize is we also offer a direct primary care option. By offering the direct primary care option, when an employee goes and sees the direct primary care, it doesn't result in a claim against the insurance. So that helps to lower the utilization of the plan. Unfortunately, this year, our initial renewal was hit with the 28%. So we're looking at a number of different options. And without divulging too much, it will not be 28%.
Okay.
But for budgeting purposes, that was the best information we had at the time.
Okay.
So again, it's a very conservative budget because it will probably be at the high point, the 11 to 12%.
Okay. So you don't anticipate the ongoing expenses to
No,
well,
and to that point, I'm sorry I didn't touch
That's
on
okay.
that. We are looking at at trying to establish a long-term, a not to exceed renewal rate with any of our providers to try and get ahead of this a little bit better. But it seems like we go through this every year, and it's the same issues with benefits increase and
Yeah, I know it's really a common issue across all industries that we're seeing health insurance costs going up. Thank you for sharing about the not having to increase fees for the last 20 years. That's remarkable. And so is it due to increased workload and just number of permits and those things that the fees are charged against that you're able to do those market compensation increases?
I think it comes down to efficiency, improvements in efficiency, and the more efficient we can operate the organization, the better service we can provide, and the better we can treat our employees, the more eager they are to provide that exceptional service. So one of the ways that we leverage technology as much as we really can through the contractor rewards program is one example. The utilization of the website for inspection requests, but we also in the field, our inspectors all have a tablet that's connected real time. They have direct access to the plans there. So they have direct access on the plans. They're not looking over the job site to try and find the plans. So that saves them a little bit of time there. Additionally, we do in certain cases, electronic inspections, where if there's a small minor issue that needs to be resolved, the contractor or the permit applicant can upload the image to their portal, their account, and get an inspection result before 8:30 in the morning, before the inspectors leave for the day. So we can clear out 5 to 6 inspections before 8:30 in the morning.
Oh,
Get people moving that way too.
great work. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Thank you.
Thanks for the hard work.
Commissioner Wesson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, congratulations on keeping, your fees consistent. I'd forgotten that you were fully self-funded. So Chair Guyton and I were speaking yesterday about it, and I had forgotten. So good job. One of the unique things that I believe you have done is you provide free classes for all the different trades when new codes come out to try to get them all up to speed on what you'll be looking for. Is that correct?
We provide a number of classes. Greg DeGrando, who is our public information officer, and he's here with us today. He could speak more on those classes if you like, but we do offer continuing classes. We offer a Contractor 101. So any new contractors that obtain their license, they can attend the Contractor 101 class and learn about everything that they're expected to know from a regional building standpoint, kind of give them a jump on their license and how to be successful. We actually offer a homeowner class for homeowners who are thinking about taking on a project. They can attend that class and learn some about the permitting process and how to avoid some of the pitfalls in the process. We offer a class for commercial realtors as well. One of the big areas that I think we can really be helpful, and that's where Greg's done a fantastic job, is when a commercial broker sells or leases space to an individual, if they don't choose the right space for that lease or that purchase, it can really set up that new business owner for failure by purchasing the wrong space and realizing that you have to add a sprinkler system or go through a change of occupancy. So anything we can do up front to streamline that process, we work hard to do. With regard to new codes, we haven't had a code change since 2023, but when we do have a code change, we do offer, to the extent possible, training opportunities for the industry to come in and learn about some of the new and differing code requirements.
Which is great because that helps, prevent some of the issues in the future. What is your average inspection closure rate from the time they, request an inspection to when you can close it?
When an individual inspection?
Yeah.
Individual inspections are, if you make the request for the inspection before 8:30 in the morning, you'll receive that inspection the same day, with the exception of re-roof inspections and elevators. Re-roofs are really hard to get ahead of because it hails faster than we can hire people. That inspection will be completed the same day and either completed, which means it passed, rejected, which means there were some issues that needed to be resolved, or partialed. We use the term partial because we might need to come back and look at another certain element that wasn't quite ready. The partial allows you to look at pieces of it, so you're not doing everything all at once. Does that answer your question?
It does. And then what is the percentage of those partials or reject requiring a callback? Just ballparking. I'm just curious.
I don't have the exact number. We do strive to minimize rejects on an inspection because when you have a reject, you can't move forward. If we can get to a partial, then that gives us the ability, and it could be a reject with, okay, upload images of the hanger that was missing.
Yep.
Or, you know, and even if you do have a reject inspection, if you can get it fixed, you can call that same inspection back tomorrow morning. And as long as we can come out and look at it, we'll come out and look at it.
Good. And then here's your crystal ball question.
Hmm.
You're doing a lot, been very efficient, haven't raised your rates. Looking at a crystal ball, what would you like to do that could increase that efficiency so you wouldn't have to raise your rates? Just a curiosity question. Not going to hold you to it.
That's a great question, Commissioner. I think, you know, I think that if we can make some advances in the field of, in the field from the inspection standpoint, where one of the most difficult types of projects that we have is, let's say your water heater goes out and you hire a contractor to put a new water heater in. The contractor obtains the permit, they come out and they put your water heater in, and they tell you, okay, we need to have an inspector come out and look at it. But you don't care because you got your hot water. So it can be very difficult for us to gain access to look at your hot water heater. I'd like to develop a manner that water heater, it could be another type of inspection as well, where when it's complete, the technician or the plumber at that point can make direct contact electronically with the department and conduct the inspection real time when the work is completed. So that when the plumber walks out of your house to finish your water heater, everything's done. That would improve efficiency on our end and also help to reduce some of the frustration on the part of the community with getting inspections taken care of. That's my crystal ball. I've been thinking about that one for quite a while, and there is some technology available. And I would love to get that in place in 2026. It may be later. I think another area for improvement would be the ability to obtain permits for new single-family homes online rather than having to visit the office. That may be able to be accomplished in 2026. That wouldn't necessarily represent an increase in efficiency on part of the department, but it would be beneficial to home builders.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I'll just add mine. Thank you, as always, for all of your work. As the commissioner who has served on the regional building board for the last several years, I'm always impressed by the work that is happening at regional building. I appreciate all of the really fantastic questions today, and I'll just say many of the questions that you have had here today are ones that I think have the board has had over the years, and so I think that's great, especially talking about that those dollars, those potentially ongoing dollars coming out of the reserve fund. But to Roger's comments here, I think that the board has been very comfortable because we know that the negotiation isn't finished. In the event that those increases were to come to fruition and need to be ongoing, there would have to be adjustments moving forward. But there's money available for that negotiation to take place. So I'm very comfortable with that. I can attest to the fact that as we watch revenues not meet projections over the last year, it is very clear that Roger and his team always make sure that if we are seeing those and those permits are not coming in, that we're making sure that the expenditures are coming in at or below that as well, so that there's never, again, none of us have a crystal ball, but that there's always a plan to make sure that those things are in alignment. And so I have great comfort with where this budget is. As Roger mentioned, the board already did vote to approve this. And I think it goes really without being said that the work that you've done in efficiencies, again, great questions about how that has happened, like how you were able to do that over time. It continues to be something that the board is very pleased with. We do recognize that at some point, efficiency, you may have come up with every efficient option that you can think of, but really proud of the fact that it would be really easy to just say, we'll just increase fees. But you haven't done that. You've really looked for those efficiencies. And I think that's really commendable. So in full support of this budget. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Nelson.
I can't wait to go out and start telling people, do you know they have not increased fees for 20 years? Like, I think we should be putting a megaphone to that. And I'm just thinking about people in my family who are plumbers and, in the construction world. Like, I'm going to have that conversation with them. So just so you know,
Thank you.
I'm going to help spread the word.
Thank you.
There's also a big sign when you walk into Regional Building that does explain that they have the lowest fees in the state. And so it's also a really great, a really great testament to the work that Roger does. So,
Greg's big sign.
and the entire team, right? We know you have a great team. Yeah. Okay, with that, I think we are ready for a motion on this item.
I move to approve the Regional Building Department budget for 2026.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded, and if there are no additional comments, then I will call the roll. Commissioner Wysong,
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson,
Aye.
Commissioner Applegate,
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Item 13.
Item number 13 is department and committee reports, non-action items, and there are none.
Item 14.
Item 14 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Item 15.
Item 15 is the request for an executive session, and there are no requests today.
Okay, with that, we've come to the end of this agenda. The meeting is adjourned.